Here we are back for the news review as promised, and we're grateful that you've stayed with us. This segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, here's what they're offering you. Pay attention. It's about your health, and you know your health is your what? You know it, your wealth. So they are offering you, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is offering you free prostate screening if you're a man, especially if you're over 40. I would say even as early as 35, because we in this region tend to be more prone to prostate issues. That's a fact, scientifically proven. If you're a woman and you don't know your fertility status, you could be actually sitting on a time bomb. So how about you just get yourself screened? And guess what? It's for free. So make your way to any of the branches of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here in Accra, they're at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takra, they are Naji Estate. Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, as well as Isiama Nzema. If you'd like to reach them on phone, which I highly recommend that you do, the numbers are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease, but only the commencement, the start of the news review. Joining us this morning for that discussion, we have Dr. Ampedu joining the discussion. Dr. Christopher Ampedu, a political analyst at the Pentecost University. Doc, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the discussion. You would have to unmute, Doc. Okay, there we are. We'll try to get that sorted out. Of course, today we have a stack of papers: the Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, Daily Guide, the Finder newspaper, Economy Times as well, that we'll be getting into. Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a bit low, but we'll rectify that. I hope you're well.
Oh, by God's grace, I'm doing great.
Okay, I don't know what it is with the sound, but we'll try to manage with that. So I'd like to start off by looking, since you're a political analyst, contemplating the two political parties, the NDC and the NPP. Now, the NDC, of course, selected its flag bearer quite a while ago. The NPP recently selected its flag bearer. And in recent times, there's been a furore, on as far as both candidates, flag bearers, are concerned. But the message they've been putting out there, the vice president says he's the best person to lead this country. He touted his economic credentials. He touted his digital credentials. He has said that as vice president, he has come through with so many ideas. That's what he says. That's what he's been saying on his tour of the northern belt of the country. The former president, John Dramani Mahama, has also said, I'm going to introduce a 24-hour economy. I'm going to revitalize the economy. He says the current president had even intimated, which he did at a point, that it's the next president who would, suggesting that it's the next president who would resolve our economic woes. He has said that he's going to cancel the teacher licensure exam, but not take away the licensure system, but change the modalities. All of these, they've been talking about so many things: economics, education, and all of that. But from what you see so far, what do you think? What do you make of these promises that are being made? Which ones do you think will stand the test of time? And which ones do you think are just wishy-washy propaganda?
Thank you so much. And good morning to your listeners, and good morning to your crew. It's quite interesting. I can just comment by saying that what I'm hearing has more to do with political propaganda than being serious with issues. Because these two guys are people we have known. And we have known Baumia being the chief economic advisor to the present government.
So the head of the economic management team.
Right. What he has said and what they have done, their performance so far, as we see today. And I believe that Ghanaians would understand that unless maybe he comes to do something different will judge him by their performance as far as these 7 years going into 8 years is concerned. And so I don't see anything serious in what both of them are saying. I mean, listening to the past president, Mahama, I think he's just rehearsing certain things he has said and keep on saying he will do. But then we have known him also as the head of the economic management team during when he was vice president and when he was given the opportunity, I mean, to rule this nation for another 4 years. We have known him. And so I would take all that they are saying with a pinch of salt, because I am not seriously convinced of their sincerity as far as managing this nation is concerned. When they are in power, yes, they are so different than when they want power. And I believe Ghanaians are now awakening to this type of political talks that politicians give us when they want power. And we are very cautious just to make conclusions that they will stick to their words, or they will really keep to their words when they come on power. Because so far, they have not proved sincere to what they tell us when they want power. And so let's look at what will happen, and let's see what Ghanaians will make out of what they are saying, and make conclusions based on what they are going to vote for.
For those of you who may not be finding the feed on the normal thread or Joy News on Facebook, just go to videos. Just when you get to the Joy News platform on Facebook, just go to videos, click on it. And I noticed since yesterday there have been some issues. So just go to Joy News on Facebook, click on videos, and then you'll see the live feed as we have it now. And you can share as well. So there's this political ping pong that they play with us. But if you look at the performance of the previous administration and you look at the performance of this administration 7 years into it, let me just limit it to the economic front and education. And maybe even let me add agriculture, because there's a lot going on in that regard, a lot of hue and cry, a lot of complaints, but at the same time there's planting for food and jobs and all of that. If you look at these three key areas, so I'm going to reiterate: the economy, which has been focal in past elections; education, which has been in turmoil in some regard; and agriculture. What is your reading? What do you think has been done right? What do you think has been done wrong? And which administration would you say has fared better?
Thank you. We're coming to education. I think this present government has done a lot, especially when we look at the STEM programs they've brought in terms of the science and education. And we also can talk of the free education that has given access to many, many thousands of people who hitherto would have had no chance to go into secondary school. Now it's making secondary school as basic education in Ghana, which I think is very laudable. And looking at the emphasis that is being given for science and technology, and the type of buildings and institutions that are being built to accommodate this science and technology education, I think is laudable. And I can say that they have done a lot, even though the previous government, led by President Mahama, also built a whole lot of schools and buildings for education. But in terms of pushing education forward, making the Ghanaian more literate in terms of access to secondary education, making the Ghanaian see the importance of science education. In our present dispensation, I think this government has moved education forward. And if we can continue, I believe that education, and for that matter, human development in Ghana will move forward comparative to world other educational systems. In terms of economy, now you see the government was doing fine initially. This present government was doing fine initially when some disturbances really happened, which was global problem that were encountered. That is not to excuse the government by not performing or doing what is expected of them. They went for too much loans, and instead of helping Ghana move this nation forward, the loans so received cannot be said to have been used for the betterment of the nation. So there are a lot of questions people are asking. So much debt, so much money, and yet the Ghanaian continue to wallow in poverty. Now there are questions. So if you compare that to President Mahama's economic system, we cannot say that they were better, because for me, all governments have been changed based on corruption issues. So even though Mahama didn't go in for such amount of loans or money, they didn't access so much money to manage the economy, they were also in a mess. In fact, it was based on the economic mismanagement. That was why they were voted out. And so,
would you say, since we're talking about the economy now, and just to chip in on education, I feel that whichever administration we've had, especially in our Fourth Republic, they give us sprinkles, the dust of education, and make a whole lot of noise about it, all the way from Rawlings through Kufuor. Kufuor did some nice things, school feeding and all of that. But they don't give the kind of education that gets you really thinking, especially at the highest levels. If you look at those countries which are really accelerating, here's why I feel this way. You listen to people, on the back of recently the selection of Dr. Baumia, I listened to some people who are saying, oh, they would vote, for example, for the NPP come 2024, and the reasons they were giving. I mean, blimey. You listen to the other side, some reasons that people will cite, oh, this is why I'll vote for the NDC. And sometimes you ask yourself, are we even in line with the proper alignment of what is happening, what is on the ground, and the things we should be focusing on? So that is another angle. But you spoke about the economy. Has the corruption become any better? If you look at the metrics, we've become worse. When you look at inflation, when you look at the exchange rate, when you look at the general quality of life, economically speaking, what do you see?
Well, what you are saying is so right. And just to comment on education, it seems that there is a problem when it comes to politics and party politics, for that matter. I think people don't even take time to reflect objectively as to how to align ourselves to issues before even talking about our commitment or allegiance to a particular political party. I think it is not a matter of education or objective analysis of issues that align people to a particular political party. Rather, I think people think more of what they can benefit, what they can get. And as far as that supersedes their objective analysis of issues, they are not going to give a very comprehensive analysis to issues. They will just be skewed towards a particular political party because that's where they align themselves to. And besides, when they gain power, they know what they'll gain from it. Right. So it doesn't give us a very thorough discussions, objective analysis of issues before even we make conclusions as far as aligning ourselves to a particular political party is concerned, or even saying that we support or do not support. Once I'm an NDC one, then it means anything that goes with NPP is just wrong. And if I'm an NPP, everything that goes with NPP is right and NDC is wrong. So objective analysis of issues is near, and that's the problem we have.
Right.
But then economically, I don't think, for me as an example, I don't think any of these political parties have made us better. I don't think so. I think things are getting worse and worse and worse, even though they claim to have made some economic advancement, which at the grassroots level, we cannot say it. People are getting more, being drawn into poverty, hunger, and deprivations. And as far as more of the population continue to wallow in this state of affairs, it's difficult to say that we have made some economic improvement.
All right. Very quickly, because I want us now to get into the papers, but on the front of agriculture, in about some 40 seconds, what do you think?
Well, in terms of agriculture, I think both political parties have done well. You know, as we know about politics, each government comes and then just do their best. So we can say that Mahama's time, Agric also took some good decisions that improve food production and also food availability. At the same time, when you talk about NPP, with the policies that were brought out, it has helped to bring in more food stuff. But then, when again you listen to the costs of food comparatively, Ghana is one of the most expensive areas where food purchase is so high. Right. So then, when you talk of improvement, what type of improvement if life is so hard, especially in the rural areas? When you go to rural areas where we think it's better to live formally because that's where food is so cheap. Now, food in these areas have become more expensive than in Accra.
It's not the same anymore.
So I don't think it's better for us.
Well, interesting perspectives. And if you look at the tide of things, we can only pray for better times. But of course, prayers alone, I have always said, God will not come down and do for man what man can do for himself. You put in the effort and God does the rest. So if you fail to think to ameliorate your situation, God will not come down and till the farm or sow the seed for you. So you will go hungry. And that's where I feel we find ourselves. But let's get into the papers now. The Daily Graphic newspaper. Oh, were you saying something?
Yes, I was saying that, you see, God has already done his part. What is left is for us, man, to also do our part. Right. So you can't shake our responsibilities and just pray and hope that God will do it when we are messing up things. No.
Right.
We have to do our part.
The Daily Graphic, 3 cement factories defy GSA ban. 3 cement factories in the Ashanti region sanctioned for producing cement with inferior materials. Be careful where you buy your cement. Inferior materials have been found to be operating despite a ban on their operations by the Ghana Standards Authority. Shing and Safe Cement Ghana Limited, Kumasi Cement Ghana Limited, and Unisim Cement Ghana Limited were banned last week from producing cement due to concerns over the quality of their products. However, it has come to light that those manufacturers have continued to operate and are producing cement using the same substandard materials. The Director General of the GSA, Professor Alex Dodu, told the Daily Graphic in an interview that unannounced visits to the premises of the 3 companies by the GSA enforcement team showed that they had resumed full operation without authorization. This happens probably only in Ghana, because if you can have a GSA tell an entity, don't go ahead, your products are substandard, yet they can flout it. And I guess you might go in there and find some political connections and this and that. Right. And look at, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, I don't like stereotyping, but nowadays when you hear practically 2 or 3 negative things, there's a Chinese somewhere, there's a Chinese entity somewhere in there. And I don't know why we are not waking up to the reality of some of these things. Like I said, I don't like stereotyping any group, anybody, but it's becoming quite a hydra-headed problem. You think of galamsey, you think of certain other ales, you think of some products that are brought into the country. Now, even some of these productions, and it is because our politicians are on the take. And so they don't care. They'll take what they will, allow outfits that probably shouldn't be operating to operate, and there we are. So you go and buy this cement, put up your edifice. Within a short while, you may even see your edifice crumble to the ground like we've seen in some places, or it may start developing faults long before it should. There's also this, let me just put together a few issues and then get your reaction. Restructure economy to consolidate IMF gains. That's the PwC to government. Now, the government must make fundamental changes in the structure of the economy and aggressively implement the public financial management law to ensure greater scrutiny and monitoring of the expenditure of ministries, departments, and agencies. A country senior partner of PricewaterhouseCoopers Ghana, Vish Ashiagbo, who gave the advice, said that would help consolidate the gains chalked up under the IMF program. And finally, Liberia's president-elect, Boakai, to review mining concessions. So that's what's happening in Liberia. Of course, I doff my hat to George Weah, who willingly, gladly, maybe not gladly, but in a very political correct manner, conceded the election, losing with over 20,000 votes. Any reactions to these stories, Doc?
Yes, thank you. Well, it's great. What's happened in Liberia, I think, is something that goes to affirm the fact that Africans, we are really moving forward as far as our political dispensations are concerned. The past where people are always going to court that we don't accept the result, that like what happened in Ghana, what happened in Nigeria, at the end of it, I mean, the same results were declared as being final results. And so it was just wonderful to hear upon Weah to see the fact that, yes, he lost and congratulated Boakai. I believe that if we can just accept defeats and then move our nations forward, that will go a long way to advance our political dispensation. Now, coming to...
But since you're a political analyst, if there's rigging, should you accept it just for the sake of peace or for the sake of some stability?
No.
If you know very well that wrong was done, should you sit back and say, oh, for the sake of peace, let's go forward?
No, I'm not saying that. But you see, the various issues that have been sent to court, for example, in Ghana, during the time when NPP was in opposition, they went to the courts. What happened? At the same time when NDC was in opposition and issues were sent to the court, what were the results? Look at what happened in Nigeria. We see the opposition went to court. So it appears that, well, we would make allegations of rigging here and there, but at the end of it all, what is the outcome of the court proceedings? The same people who were declared as winners won at the end of it all. That does not mean that we should just keep our eyes shut to allow people to just to do their own thing and then take power that they don't deserve. That's not what I'm saying anyway. So thank you for that. And looking at the cement factory that has been shut down, I mean, you see, we are in a very, very desperate country where people are paid to do work of supervision to ensure that the things are done. And people are given all that is needed to be effective in what you are doing. But then what do we see? Because of corruption, thievery, greed. Now, how can it happen? Where can it happen? When a factory has been shut down and yet the factory reopened into full operation without government officials appointed to ensure that the right thing is done, is not aware of. Meanwhile, these are people who always go to their offices, sit in air-conditioned rooms, and then receive all that is needed to make them comfortable. And so it is so sad that we are in such a nation where people don't seem not to even love the nation. They are so greedy for what they will gain from their work than to ensure that the right thing is done. And so if there's going to be some, as was pointed out, some economic restructure whereby monitoring and supervision can be done and done more effectively. But then even I'm still not comfortable because these kind of things have been done over and over and over. But because of the corrupt nature of people and for the fact that institutions are not working effectively, people just do what they want and they go scot-free. And so let's pray that this time around we'll have people who fear God and as such we want to do right to move Ghana forward.
All right. Let's quickly, I will not delve into these. I'll just take a quick look at them. Economic issues will dominate 2024 electioneering. That's according to Dr. Osai Kwapong. Of course, it comes as no news. We're fully aware that the issues of the economy will be one of those pivotal, crucial ones. And according to him, they will dominate the 2024 electioneering. Like I was asking earlier, which entity would you trust better with the economy? This current administration or the previous administration? Or maybe the Alan Chematings and the others who are also standing in the gap as independent candidates, likely. UGMC performs beating heart surgery, and the surgery, otherwise known as off-pump coronary artery bypass, was performed on 2 adults, a 70-year-old retired teacher and a 67-year-old businesswoman, who are among 6 patients who underwent complex cardiac surgical procedures at the center. Congratulations to the team at the University of Ghana Medical Center. But I want your take on this matter. NPP sacks Boniface Sadiq, Yawabena Samwa, and 2 others. We know them, Nano Heninto, among others, and I think Hobson Adoye, for breach of party constitution. That story on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. There's also, Parliament won't bow to IMF pressure. That's according to the Speaker. So what exactly is he saying? He says he has served notice that the House will not bow to the pressures of the IMF in the passage of legislations to satisfy its conditions for the agreements with government for the $3 billion extended credit facility to Ghana. The long arm of the IMF, the Speaker said, was all over the budget, including the request for the affirmative action bill to be passed under a certificate of urgency. In other words, when you're a beggar, sometimes a lot of the time you'll be told all kinds of stuff because you cannot manage your own affairs. But what do you make of the purported sacking of these 4 from the NPP? What's your quick take on that, Doc?
Thank you so much. It's quite interesting, very interesting, because we've just had NPP presidential elections where key people like regional executive members, MPs, ministers declare their support for a particular candidate. Now, when you look into the NPP, their laws or their own rules and regulations, they do not allow such things to be done. And these things went on so clearly all over the place. The executive couldn't come out to even tell the public that it's right for them to do, or not just right. And we know all the other presidential candidates really were so peeved about that. The party executive couldn't say anything. So it's interesting now for them to come out to say that these people are sacked from the party because they support Chemanting. Now, the interesting thing is that, you see, Chemanting is not just an ordinary NPP guy. Surely, some people will support him. Now, Chemanting is not coming out with a political party. So even though he will stand for presidential elections, many of his followers will still vote for the NPP. Now, when you put out such statements of sacking people, you know what? You are bringing animosity into the political party. So,
but that is what their constitution says. If you lend your support to a candidate other than that which the party has selected, you automatically sack yourself, and they are merely reiterating that. The question is whether that should even be in their constitution. That's another matter for discussion.
Okay, but then if you are serious, a disciplined political party, why is that certain parts were breached some time ago, and you didn't say anything. Now, people have taken this step, and now you are saying that, yes, we need to bring discipline. The laws must work. Is there a time where the laws work, and at a particular point in time, it doesn't work? Fairness must be seen. Besides, we are talking of a political party where numbers are so important. And so if you are dealing with such issues, I think, even though you may be taking the right decision, you have to be very careful, because at the end of it, you should think seriously whether this will benefit us at the long run.
Right.
Sacking these people, I think, in one way or the other, though brings discipline to the party. On the other hand, I think the NPP is going to lose it, because people who are going to vote skirt and blouse may not even vote the blouse.
Right.
They will stay at home. It is not good for the party.
They may stay at home. We have to go, Doc, in the next minute, but let me just, the Daily Guide newspaper reiterates that. It says NPP sacks 4 rebels. There's also police grab bold robbers, and Mahama snaps NDC executives in regional tour. In fact, in that paper as well, there's the issue of Major Mahama lynching self-defense. That's according to a lawyer of some of the accused. But the story I want you to focus on: trade organizations kick against 2024 budget. GUTA is one of them, the Ghana Union of Traders Association. And this is a quote from the president: "This 2024 budget is going to impact businesses negatively. In the broader picture, our demands were not met. The cost of doing business is high. Macroeconomic framework has been prepared to achieve the objective of the IMF-supported PCPEG through the underlisted priorities." That's in the Economy Times newspaper. What do you make of the 2024 budget? Were you excited about anything in it?
Well, somehow I was excited about some of the taxes that were not increased and also seem to have been removed. But then you say this just, I don't think it's enough to give relief to the ordinary Ghanaian. Business people may say it differently, and some may be happy, some may not, but I don't even trust these business people, because most of the times they are out there. I've never seen a time when government has reduced a tax for business or traders to say that because tax have been reduced, we are also reducing the cost of what we sell. No. Prices have never been reduced because governments have reduced anything.
Right.
I mean, our traders and our business people sometimes cannot also, like politicians, be trusted. And
right.
So we can say that, well, they've done their best, and let's see what goes on in the future.
Doc, we're very grateful for your time. Thank you for having breakfast with us this morning. Dr. Christopher Ampedu is a political analyst, Pentecost University. He has been our guest. Doc, we wish you the best of the day. The Economy Times also says the Bank of Ghana is to cut the policy rate. Of course, it's moving it by 100 basis points, or 1%, from 30 to 29. Just before we get into sports, this segment has always been brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Here's where you can locate them: in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hansua, and Esiama and Zima. The call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Of course, helping us come to the end of the news review. Up next, we have sports with Mubarak Haruna. Do stay.